Hi guys, Asmo here, and today I have a treat for you. First of all, I would like to welcome you to my new setup. I took some time off to move to a new place and set up a nice place for streaming and recording videos. So I'm gonna be trying to do my best to provide a little bit of a better quality to you all. And secondly, today I'm gonna teach you how to speedrun the Path of Exile 2 campaign. This is something that I wanted to get a little bit more into in preparation for the PoE 2 release. I wanna get better at leveling since we're gonna be doing a lot of that with all the resets, new leagues. I want to try a lot of different classes, and this is the best time to get into speedrunning Path of Exile 2 just for your own purposes, for leveling faster. If you just want to improve your times and spend more time in the end game, you want to practice the early game as well to get good at it and quickly rush through the campaign. Or maybe you want to get into the competitive side of things and try to compete for speedrunning records and races and stuff like that. That's also going to be helpful for you. But unfortunately, I couldn't find any good resources for speedrunning. Anytime I tried to Google search on YouTube for speedrunning Path of Exile 2 campaign, the videos were actually completely unrelated to that. Some guys running the Act 1 with twin gear in 2.5 hours and claiming that this is some kind of speedrunning. There is just like not much information that I could find, and so I had to learn this stuff myself, and today I'm gonna share it with you. I'm gonna give you a bunch of resources where you can go to find information, where you can learn stuff yourself, and then I'm also gonna show you how I got my warrior fresh start through Act 1 in less than an hour. So this is something that I learned in the past week to like maybe 9 days. About like 9 days ago, I started getting back into the game. I did some streaming, and I streamed my practice with Warrior, and I tried to figure out a way to get it through Act 1 under 1 hour, because I want to level every single class through Act 1 under 1 hour to learn a little bit how to get better at the early game. And that was my goal, and I started with Warrior. So I finally got Warrior to under 1 hour, and I'm going to share with you how I did it. But first, let's talk about some resources. So number one resource that I recommend for learning and learning yourself is to simply go to speedrun.com/PoE2. I'm going to put a link to everything in the description. So on this website, you're going to be able to find runs for Act 1, Act 3, different hardcore, softcore setups, points or any percent. So you can see here, people have stuff sorted by different classes. So if you want to go, for example, for a mercenary or warrior, right, you can see like sorceress, you can see different people running. And then if you click on the name of the person, you can find the Act 1 and you can find the video. So you can actually watch the videos, you can watch the VODs. Sometimes people add a little bit description, right, to explain it a little bit. Sometimes people have commentary, sometimes not, but you're going to be able to see how are people leveling this specific class that you want for the specific format that you want, and you're going to be able to learn from that yourself. This is one of the important things. You need to see what people are doing before you start doing it yourself, because you might have good ideas, right? Like, for example, my setup for Warrior is something that other people are not doing, right? And it is something that I came up with, but there are some inspiration that I took from other people. There's some different little tricks that I learned from different people, right? So it's very valuable to see how other people are running things so that you can yourself make sure that you're not using something that is vastly inferior, right? There might be a very good option that fits very well into your strategy. So you want to learn that, so you want to see how other people are doing things. You can also learn how they're running the zones, how many monsters they're killing, little subtle things that you can't really see and find out from anywhere else than just like watching people who are good at this. So I highly recommend checking out speedrun.com. And then another source I highly recommend is the Discord for the community racing for Path of Exile. So PoE community racing Discord is going to be linked in the description as well, and you will find there people who are into racing, people sharing different tips and tricks and experiences, as well as collecting different resources that you're going to be able to go and find more information about racing and leveling the campaign quickly. And then other Discord that I would highly recommend is the PoE 2 campaign codex Discord, which contains information about the different layouts. So if you want to learn a specific zone because you think, okay, I'm just getting lost in this one specific zone, I don't know how to get through it, you can go and find out if there is information about layouts. There is pretty much information about every single layout, but some layouts have like detailed PDF files with all the tells and different layouts that you can learn, and some have like just generic information that will be able to simply give you some hints about where to go. So highly valuable resource that I recommend. And the rest of the information in this video is going to come from looking over this warrior run. So as you can see, we're doing a migration of everything, so it's going to be completely fresh start, 0 gold, 0 items, 0 characters, just nothing. We're just gonna make a new character. I'm deleting some old characters from the previous Act 1 runs, and we're just gonna make a new character in Solo Self-Found, pick a warrior, random name, doesn't matter, don't worry about the names, it's waste of time. So let's just make a new character and go to the riverbank. I'm gonna teach you a few things about speedrunning specifically, how to get quicker through the campaign, lots of small tips and tricks, and lots of advice about like where to go, what to prioritize, like stuff that is kind of intangible, like where to kill more monsters, how to manage your XP, how to tell if you're killing too much or too little. Like things like that are very, very hard to learn, and it's very hard to even understand that they are things that you need to learn in the first place. So I'm going to try to bring to your attention the things that you need to know and the things that you need to pay attention to if you want to level through the campaign faster. And the first thing I'm going to say, I think it should be like a disclaimer at the beginning, is that you cannot get better without practice, right? You're gonna have to practice. And all of these little things, they might seem like, okay, this is too much. This is like some crazy shit. I don't need to know that, right? But they are basically telling you, I'm basically gonna be telling you the mindset that you need to have if you actually wanna be faster, right? If you're not paying attention to these little things, you're not gonna be as fast as you can be, because these little things are often the easy part, right? And the hard part often is like, the pacing of yourself, like forcing yourself to do stuff while moving, which is like kind of intangible, and it's kind of hard to communicate that to people or teach that to people. You kind of have to teach that yourself. But the easy things that I can teach you are all these little tricks and all these little things that you can pay attention to, so that you can start improving your gameplay in general, and not only in the campaign but also while mapping and doing everything else. You're just going to be faster and more efficient and learn so many different things. So the first thing we're doing when you're doing like a speed run, you click on your preferred movement type. So I'm selecting mouse because I like using mouse for the warrior. I find it's slightly better to control, like the shield charge and everything feels really, really good that way. But both are very viable. Most of speedrunners that I've seen are using WASD. And then you can put movement commands. So I'm putting movement command on my left click. I'm putting it on D, which is on the secondary bar that I have it bound there. You can rebind the secondary bar to whatever keys you want. I'm moving my scroll. I'm putting on my minimap, and I'm pressing, I think by default it's Z, but for me it's P to toggle things so that they appear, like such as boxes and different environmental things and names of NPCs and so on. And then my character gets up. So we're doing all of that while the character is getting up, and then as the character starts moving, that's when you press your timer. For example, if you're using live split, right? So you're gonna find on the on the speedrun.com links and resources, you're gonna find that people are using live split for timer. I don't have it on here, but that's what you want to be using to measure your time. Very important, measure your time. If you don't measure your time by like typing /played whenever you get to a certain area, or by just having a timer running on your screen, you're not gonna know if you're improving. But if you have the timer, even just improving like 5 seconds, you're gonna be like, wow, okay, my new personal best. That's actually like very motivating. It's very nice to see, and it tells you that you are improving. And no matter who you are, you can improve. Like no matter what your time, you can improve. And the best way to do is to look at your own time. Don't compare yourself to other people. Record a full Act 1 run, see how much time it took you, and then try to figure out some things, learn them, go do another run, and then if you have a better time, you're like, okay, fine, now I know I am actually improving, right? Without that, it's like you can't really tell you're improving, right? Tip I can give you for this guy is your character will always take a spot on the right hand side of this guy. Sometimes he's facing up, then on the right hand side of him will be here. Sometimes he's facing right, so it'll be below. If he's facing left, it'll be above. So it's always on the right hand side of this guy. This is important because as you're getting to him, you want to start spamming like left click and space to get through the dialogue as quickly as possible. But if you do it too early, you're gonna dodge roll, right? And then you're gonna have to walk back to him, click on him again, right? So you know that the right spot where your character stops is on the right hand side of him. So that is something that you might not pay attention to ever if you're just like not trying to get better and faster, right? But this is something that you want to do. And also left click as well as space is gonna be skipping through the dialogue, so you want to spam both of them. So now you know, okay, now without without him dying, you can see where my mouse cursor is, right? My mouse cursor is already in the position where the weapon will fall. You see, like the weapon appeared under my cursor. So I can click on it immediately and I'm already moving, right? So we don't need to do anything else. We could just pre-move our cursor to where that's going to happen. These are the things that will happen every single run you do on every single character. It's going to be exactly the same. So it's worth learning and saving those few seconds. We're setting our skills on the bars. We're setting it on attack without moving. So if you go to the skill section, you can click on the arrow and select always attack without moving. That's gonna stop your character from like trying to walk a little bit to the monster and hit it, and you're gonna waste time. The character is gonna feel clunky. So you pretty much want to put all skills on attack without moving so that your character feels more responsive and you have more precise control. Always dodge roll past the zombies as well. We're not killing anything in the first zone, and the shield I'm taking off immediately. The reason for that is that the shield slows your character and the armor slows your character. So in the first couple zones you don't need to wear them, but later on as you get through like the third zone where you have the werewolves, they can fuck you up if you don't have a armor, for example chest armor. So if you have a chest armor you probably should wear it already. Now we're putting the rolling slam. You can also dodge the shooting, spitting guys, and we're gonna put on the shield right before the boss, and we're gonna try to start hitting him as soon as possible. If you time it correctly, you can actually, and it's a little bit luck, right? But also it's a little bit timing. If you start hitting him right away, you can actually interrupt his first summoning of the zombies. So if you see the stun bar at the top, we'll see if we're like 1.5 attacks too slow. I'm also doing rolling slam because you see that it does a lot of damage. The second slam does 50% more damage to a target that is stunned. So if he's stunned, I'm actually doing the rolling slam once. You can only fit one unless you stun him with the first one. I'm not sure if the stunning hit still gets 50% more damage, but normally you can only do one. And then we're standing against this wall because he does this move where he like pushes you, and we want him to die next to the entrance because that way we don't have to walk all the way to the entrance. We're already there. So we want the loot to drop here and we want him to die here. So that's why I'm standing against this wall. As a warrior with a shield, you can never die here. Like if you can take the slams, right? You can see I'm just taking all the slams. I'm just pressing the flask and I'm completely fine because we have the block. So we're going to be completely fine here, tanking it against the wall. And then when he dies, he's going to drop the loot and we're going to be able to pick it up right here. And then we want to identify everything that's basically not a flask because it sells for more. And we're going to be looking into the vendor for weapons, depending on like what weapons we get here, right? So let's see, what do we get here? We get augmentation, we get chainmail. Okay, we get gloves. So I have flat cold damage on gloves. That is really good. That's basically like an extra damage roll that we're getting. It's just as good as if it was on the weapon, doesn't matter what it's on. And I'm picking melee damage. And as you can see, I took my skill point while I was walking here. So let me go a little bit back. So there is a mechanic. Well, while you are in town, the game cannot pause, right? Because you cannot pause every other player on the server, right? So the game doesn't pause here. So what you can do is you can either allocate passive skill points or you can engrave gems while walking through town and it's not gonna stop you. So you're gonna save some time because you always wanna keep moving. You always wanna be walking. If you're not walking, you're wasting time, right? So you wanna try to move as much as possible and do everything while running. That's a very, very important principle for speedrunning and trying to be faster. I'm gonna explain a little bit the tree that I'm doing so I don't have to talk about it later. It's an Act 1 run, so it's not that many passive points. We're starting with the melee damage here, and then I actually do something very unusual. I pick int, dex, strength, this node, these two nodes, dex, dex, int, and then these two nodes. And then we're pathing up to the right. So the reason for that is because I'm doing a very unusual setup. I'm going for spells first, so we're gonna be doing Frostbomb Contagion, and then I'm doing for a staff. I might use a mace early on if I get a good mace, but I'm gonna go for a staff. The reason why I'm going for a staff is because the bell plus shield charge plus stomping ground plus the war cry is such an insanely ridiculous burst damage. It's such an insanely ridiculous high amount of single target damage. You're gonna see when I'm doing the last boss, I'm gonna have such ridiculous damage. It's like unbelievable that this is a fresh start. Every other warrior setup I saw has shitty single target damage unless you have extremely good mace and you're doing conk effect plus a martial tempo and you're basically doing auto attack, right? That's a really good amount of damage if you have a good weapon, but you don't always have a good weapon, and then you're kind of screwed, and then you don't have single target damage, and then it's very, very annoying. So my setup is all about consistency. I kind of took inspiration from Tide23, who, if you remember, if you saw ever his video comparing himself to Havoc, he was saying how Havoc is reaching for the stars and for the records, and Tide23 is like an autistic version that just tries to be consistent, right? Just like be consistent, never have bad runs, like raising the minimum or the average, right? That's what I'm kind of trying to do. I'm trying to have a strategy that works no matter what, because I hate getting bad RNG and I hate being stuck when I get bad RNG. And also I want to make it realistic for a league start. So on a league start, you're not going to like reset, right? For speedrunning and going for records, this is not the best, right? Even though, okay, I can get like Act 1 under 1 hour, it's like a decent time, but it's not gonna be something that you hit like a world record with most likely, because you're not cutting corners, you're playing it safe. But I'm playing it safe in a way where it's gonna be consistent and it's gonna work every time. So my times for Act 1 are actually all within like 2 minutes of each other. So I never had like, oh, I beat my run by 15 minutes, right? It's like I improved by like 2 minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. But every single time I do a run, like a full run, it's faster, and every single time is just like 2 minute margin, right? So that is something that very, very consistently worked for me, and I never have like a terrible RNG run where I cannot do anything, right? And that's why I went for that. So we're gonna pick int first, because if I drop a level 2 skill gem, I'm going to get contagion, because contagion level 2 is insane for clear. If I'm already like high XP and I just need single target damage, let's say I'm like somehow I'm very high XP, but I have very low single target damage, then I'm gonna get level 2 Frostbomb instead. Then I'm gonna get Dex, so I can equip a good staff as early as possible, because it requires 10 Dex and we start with 7 if we don't get the gear. Then we get either Dex or Strength, and then we get Strength here, we get a shield charge, and we get these 2 nodes, and also these nodes are not that efficient. Like they're great early, right? Because it's like 8% and then 10% melee damage. But this one is like, I think 12 or 15, and this one is 10, and this one is like 20 melee damage and 40 if the target is stunned. And we're doing such insane damage while the enemy is stunned. You're gonna see like the ridiculous burst that we do. This is a very valuable node. So we're picking the efficient damage nodes and skipping a little bit of the inefficient, so that we can have guaranteed attributes and have like no issues with attributes, because this setup requires a lot of strength, dex, and int, because we're using staff, and these skills require dex and int, and we're using shield charge and the totem and the war cry, which requires strength. So we're gonna be able to meet all of the requirements while having like a very simple efficient tree anyway, right? And having a decent amount of damage as well. So we're talking to this guy, we're getting the gem, and we're checking the stuff that he has. Ideally, I want to get a staff, right? So if I can, I just buy a basic staff, and then we're engraving the frost bomb in order to, use that for the first boss. It's just like huge amount of single target damage. The freeze and chill is very helpful for bosses. It just helps your survivability as well. So now I'm setting all of my skills on the bars. I'm going to make sure to do everything on attack without moving as well. And since I'm meeting a pack that is like decent, I'm gonna just drop a frost bomb. If there's like at least 3 monsters, I can drop that on. Then we put attack without moving on the auto attack as well, very important. And then we grab this skill gem, and we're gonna get contagion. So contagion is something that is insanely powerful in the right situation, right? The most important reason for that is red veil. If you're doing red veil and you don't get a chest piece, you don't get a lot of armor or life on your gear, or any armor or life on your gear, right? Like literally no armor, no life on your gear. And you go to red veil, you're gonna get fucked up if you try to melee these monsters, especially with the slow mace attacks, right? If you're trying to do like rolling slam, and then you're trying to do bone shatter, if you have a shitty weapon or haven't even found a weapon, right? Sometimes you don't have a two-handed weapon, because literally you cannot even buy a white one because there are only magic available and you don't have enough gold for them and they don't drop. And so you're gonna be screwed. These monsters are gonna absolutely destroy you. But if you're doing this setup, you can simply drop a frost bomb, contagion, and you just run around them and they all die, right? And it's very consistent. It's very good amount of clear. So I really like this setup. It's been super good. Like since I started doing it, I've been very happy with it, right? So we want to open chests that we find on the way as well. That is very nice. Then I want to drop the bomb. So I'm dropping frost bomb on the monsters or zombies because zombies are very slow. So zombies cannot catch up to me, but the wolves can catch up to me. So instead of dropping the frost bomb on the wolves, I'm dropping the frost bomb on the zombies because that way I'm able to kill all of them at the same time, right? So they all die. We also get a contagion on this wolf. Would be super cool if he got to the boss. So you ideally want to try to put contagion on a mob that's going to die next to the boss so that the contagion drops on the boss because you double the damage every single time the contagion spreads. Unfortunately, there is a ridiculous name locking thing where even if your cursor is like super far away from the boss, so let's say, you know, the boss is here, if the wolves are surrounding the boss and I put my cursor here, literally here, like literally here, there's a wolf here, I put the cursor here and press contagion, it will still go on the boss, right? I don't know why, it's ridiculous, but it will still go on the boss, right? So you need to like really go far away for that to work. So my DPS pattern here is I drop on cooldown the frost bomb on the boss and I auto attack with the staff. Contagion level 1 is not good enough to justify using it on single target unless you get the spread, like double or triple spread, then you get double or triple damage, then it's okay. But normally we just spam the frost bomb on cooldown and then auto attack her. Right, and even if you have a white weapon, whether you have a white staff or white mace, it's gonna be completely fine, right? And you're gonna be able to kill her, no problem. The only thing you wanna dodge is the two big circles that appear under you, and then you also wanna dodge when she does the barrage, right? We're gonna ID, of course, the weapon. The weapon is +2 to melee skills, which is kind of useless, but that's okay. And then we're gonna path straight. So I'm not doing the Devourer here. I found that the Devourer takes a long time, and it's also very difficult, and it's also very RNG. So the Devourer is a little bit annoying because as a warrior, if you're relying on your melee damage and you're gonna be able to hit him, like sometimes he's gonna just like jump away, burrow, jump away, and you're not gonna be able to hit him at all, right? So you're gonna spend a lot of time doing it. The other boss that we're fighting, the mushroom guy, the druid, is a little bit more consistent because you had more time to gear up, you had more time to get some skill gems, and I prefer doing that. Plus, I don't have a use for an active gem really right now. Like, I could maybe get Hollow Palm to move around a few times a little bit faster, so it will maybe save a couple seconds, but it is not worth doing the whole boss, right? I can try doing the Devourer as well. This is definitely something I've been debating. So either the Devourer or the Druid, but we need to kill one of them because I will need the extra support gem. Definitely, there's like, if you can get a bunch of support gems early on, you would definitely love to get them. So yeah, we're making sure everything is on attack without moving. Grellwood, this zone is roughly like in a diamond shape, right? So you're gonna find as a warrior or like in SSF, I don't know if it's different between different classes, but you're gonna find roughly here is gonna be the witch. She's going to be like somewhere in the beginning, right? That's going to be the first thing you find. And then diagonally up or down, you're going to find the entrance to the mushroom land of the druid. And then somewhere more to the middle, but also up or down, you're going to find the waypoint, and then most of the time on the right side on the bottom or on the left side on the bottom, you're gonna find the bramble, and we're skipping the bramble, we're not killing him. And then bottom right usually is the entrance to the red veil. So this is a ridiculous zone because the werewolves, especially when they're magic, they can push you so hard. It's really hard to aim the frost bomb at them, right? But in this case, I'm trying to do my best to like corral them and like bait them into the frost bomb and make sure the contagion is spreading the damage. So you can see it's finishing them off and I don't need to do anything. Yeah, I'm just like running and the contagion is killing them. Sometimes you can run through the entire zone and just kill half of it with just the contagion spreading, right? So here I'm trying to find the thing. I think she's above, right? So I changed my direction now because I realized, okay, she cannot be any lower. So she's gonna be above. We hit level 3, so we're gonna get some extra XP from this, which is completely fine. Early on, XP is a little bit rough. You definitely don't want to kill, like, you know, if you have like 2 monsters chasing you, you don't really want to stop to kill them unless they're like magic, right? Or like you're gonna fight a boss, right? So we need to clear them before fighting the boss because this boss is very annoying. So we drop a frost bomb before she spawns. She always does this beam move first. So I'm gonna dodge roll and then I'm gonna start attacking her, right? So we attack her and try to auto attack as much as possible whenever we can, right? Because she's very, very tough. We managed to freeze her, so I'm standing like, I think right in between these things, so they're not gonna hit me. Actually, they did hit me, so I did stand in range, but it doesn't one-shot you, so at least that's a good thing. So this was relatively easy, but it's a very hard boss. If she spawns the purple plants, that like the volatile purple balls that are chasing you, if you see that, instantly press escape and respawn at checkpoint. Instantly. Don't even think about it. Never do it, right? It is an insane waste of time to try to do that. It's a terrible mod. You should never do it. You should always reset and respawn right at checkpoint. You're right here, right? You're not gonna waste any time. It's gonna be much faster to reset. So that's one of my biggest advices to you. Try to learn which skills have which support gems by default recommended for them, because that way you can craft them easily. So Mace Strike, I know that it has Fire Infusion, it has Rage, and it has Lacerate. All of these are useful for me later on, but first I need Martial Tempo for my Quarterstaff Strike because we need more single target damage. So I'm clicking on that and the Martial Tempo. If you need Martial Tempo for, some other skill that you have, click on the Quarterstaff Strike, craft it from here because it's going to be faster, and then move it to the other skill, right? So we're engraving Martial Tempo. Dropping the white items, and I need to do a better job on vendoring. I think that's one of the things that I can improve definitely, like organizing my inventory and vendoring. I'm looking slightly up to see if there is the waypoint in this direction, but I'm deciding, okay, maybe it's not going to be up there, so I'm just going to go down, and you see the camera zooms out slightly if you get closer to the waypoint. I tried to go to the left, but the monsters literally just pushed me to the right because there's just so many of them. So we can see the camera is zooming out. We know we're approaching the waypoint, trying to kill these guys. So we actually got a lot of XP. We're like almost half to level 4. And then we're going to be able to equip our flasks. Yeah, I'm dropping on, like, ranged monsters typically are the ones that are less mobile. They move less. So you can drop the Frost Bomb. And you can see I'm dropping the Frost Bomb like in front of where I'm going, and then I know monsters will end up there, but because it will take like 3 seconds to explode, right? So I'm making sure to drop the Frost Bomb ahead of them. So we got lots of XP here, and we can go into the Red Veil. So I didn't find the Grellwood, but I would expect the Grellwood, like, if looking at this, right, I would expect on the right side to be the Bramble, and on top to be entrance to, not the Grellwood, but like the Bramble, whatever, like the mushroom guy, right? I call it the mushroom land. So that's where I would expect it to be. I think maybe I checked down as well because it's a little bit not clear for me while I was playing, but yeah. Okay, Red Veil is the first zone where I would recommend learning layouts, okay? If you wanna get faster, Red Veil is gonna save you so much time if you know layouts. So there are 2 zones where I specifically went ahead and learned layouts, and these 2 zones have an excellent PDF file with instructions on every single layout. It was made by, I think, To Be The Best is the guy's name, on the Discord for the PoE2 campaign, and that is a super valuable resource that I highly recommend. So I know that this layout is the bulge. The bulge points downwards, is this little formation. I could also check up there if there is a hook, but I'm convinced that this is the bulge, which means I know already where I need to go, right? I need to go down through the bridge, and there's a lake here. So on this side of the lake, there is going to be one, and this is the top side of a triangle. Then down to the left, on the edge of another lake, is going to be another pillar that we need to click, and then down to the right is going to be the last, right? So I already know where the pillars are going to be. Now I'm just like, okay, cool. Now I'm just going to kill efficiently all the monsters that are in front of me. I can see like rare pack, like there's a huge amount of mobs here. So I'm just going to be dropping the Frost Bomb on them. I'm gonna be spreading the contagion, and they're just all gonna die. And there's a lot of range monsters, there's blue mobs, but I'm gonna survive this no problem because the damage is being dealt while I'm moving, right? So I'm completely safe, and this setup allows me to do that. We got an amulet randomly, which is cool. Okay, and now we're going through the bridge, allocating another point. That's a dex point. I already know where the checkpoint is going to be, so I can equip my flasks, right? right? Sometimes you don't want to equip your flasks because as you take them off, equip the new ones, you have no charges and you might die because you might be missing life. But if you know that you're approaching a checkpoint or you see it, but you didn't trigger it yet, that's a time where you want to make sure to, okay, I'm walking a little bit wrong because I should be higher to the right. Yes, I should be walking higher to the right. Yes. Now I see the checkpoint, but I'm still gathering mobs because I want to make sure to kill as many of them to get the XP, because early on we definitely need to kill a lot of monsters, especially as you know the layout, you're not going to be walking exploring the whole zone, so you want to make sure to kill everything that's in here on the way, to not miss XP, not be too low level, because later on it's going to be biting you in the butt. So here we're going to kill this guy, that's the last mob. And then the next one is to the down left, or like mostly down, but a little bit to the left. That's where another one is going to be. And yeah, this zone, single target damage is also helpful to have for the boss, but you can simply just like dodge most of the ability that he does, take a little bit more time. And a good time to finish this, like as a warrior, my best time would be like 10 minutes and a few seconds, right? So like a little bit between 10 and 11 minutes. That would be like a good time for me on a warrior. And of course, that's going to depend on you, right? Most of the time it's a little bit longer, but like if I'm having a good run, right? Here we're going to drop another frost bomb, and you try to drop them on the monsters that don't move that much. I actually died here. So this is not a deathless run as well. This is not a deathless run. I die a few times. I think this zone is definitely rippy. Any zone that has the poison spitters, so these plants spit and poison, those are very, very dangerous. There's also poison spitters in the hunting grounds, and there's also a huge amount of like physical degen in the Count of Ogam's manor, whatever like his house is called, and that's a zone that has a lot of like crazy damage and crazy like tight corridors where you can get completely destroyed. So very, very dangerous and a rippy zone. But yeah, we're trying to now kill the Rust King. I'm gonna allocate strength. Typically I just do like int dex strength, and that means that I can just have enough strength for everything, and then dex and int on the gear as much as I can. So yeah, we're auto-attacking, we're dropping the frost bomb, and then if there are adds, then I'm gonna also use contagion to spread the contagion to him. I'm gonna skip a little bit through the fight because you don't need to take all this time, and then we're gonna make sure to go in town. An important thing to do is, if you have an item that is, for example, rare, I would highly recommend first identifying the rare item, and also if you control click on Una, you will open the disenchanting menu, and if you alt click, you're gonna open the selling menu. And this one is very important because you get scrolls of wisdom, which you can use to identify first, let's say a magic item, and that's going to give you more gold. You sell that, get more scrolls, and you only basically buy as many as you need to identify all the gear, because you definitely want to make sure to find all the good gear. Like for example, this like life and strength, it's pretty good. On the glove, and not really better, because on the glove you ideally, with this setup with warrior, you're aiming for flat damage to attacks. Ideally you want either fire or physical, because we're going to be using fire infusion in our shield charge. And then you also, of course, want attack speed. And of course, you want, very, very importantly, plus to the levels of all attacks, because that's going to give you so much damage across the board. It's particularly strong for shield charge, which doesn't scale off of your weapon, as well as the totem, which also doesn't scale off of your weapon and scales from levels. So on your one-handed weapon and on your glove, you would really love +1 to the levels of all melee skill gems, right? So this is gonna sell for a lot. I can equip that as well, but I'm looking, and I'm just like valuing evasion and armor a little bit more. We get a helmet, we get this with cold resistance, right? So I'm taking a long time. To like vendor and stuff, but it's a pretty important step as well. But you do want to get as efficient at it as you can. So we get a little bit of better stuff. So I can equip that. We can augment it as well, stun build up. We can check for movement speed or any other things. And then we have basically clean inventory, and we're going back to the waypoint. So you want to go to the Grellwood. you want to click on all the 3 runic seals, and then as soon as you see the seal disappear, the text disappear, you want to dodge roll away from it to cancel the remaining animation, right? You don't need to wait for the character to do, to do all of the animation. So you can cancel that. And then I'm going down because that's where at first I thought is the entrance, but I think that is wrong. I think it's actually a misread on my part while I was playing, because now it looks a little bit clearer that it should be up. But maybe I'm right. Let's see. Yeah, I'm wrong here. Yes, exactly. I should be going up because it was up. So I could do respawn at checkpoint, but I'm not sure if it would put me at the waypoint or if it would put me somewhere else, like where I entered, where the last checkpoint I touched, right? I'm not sure actually. But yeah, so you can see that this is one place of interest. This is another. The bramble is typically close to the red veil entrance, so it will be above here. And so the last one obviously has to be above, right? It's a little bit difficult to see with these like big gaps here, right? You don't know if this is like an actual wall of the zone or if the zone goes behind that. Same with like here, right? This wall, it's a little bit hard to see sometimes, but you want to do your best to try to read this. And these like 4 points of interest in this zone are typically placed in a diamond shape. So Grim Tangle, this is the second zone and the only zone for Act 1 that I would highly recommend learning layouts for. I know that this one is one of the 2 layouts. It's either the greater than or number 2. Greater than, we basically need to go down to the right and then down to the left, and boss is gonna be like below, or we go in like a number 2 shape. We do a little hook, then we go to the left, and then a little bit down, there's gonna be a boss, and then down to the right is gonna be the exit, right? So it's one of the 2. I'm taking a portal here because we need to go to town to talk to Una, right? So we cancel this as soon as possible. We take the portal back. It's a little bit faster than opening the map and using the waypoint, right? So that's why we use the portal instead of waypoint here. And then as soon as you talk to her and she starts singing, you can actually respawn at checkpoint and the way is going to be open. So you don't have to wait for the whole animation. It is slightly faster, right? So you can save like a couple seconds here as well. Then this is in this zone, if you can hit level 6, like ideally if you have another, what's it called? Oh yeah, I think I misread this zone. I thought it's like up. Maybe I misread this zone because I shouldn't be even checking up. I should be just going down. Every single time. But if you hit level 6 and you can equip shield charge, and if you have a second support gem, ideally what you would like here would be Stomping Ground, right? Stomping Ground shield charge early on is very powerful, and it scales with the Stomping Ground's shockwaves, scale with your strength. So they don't care about the weapon, just how much strength you have. And the shield charge itself scales with the damage scales with levels as well as your shield. And the shield, you want breakpoints of 15. So you want 15 armor or 30 armor or 45 armor or 60 or 75 or a 90, right? So in breakpoints or 15. So that's why it is important to get the next base of a shield, of armor shield, that has 29 armor. And then if you get a quality like armor scrap, you can throw it on that and it pushes it to the breakpoint of 30, right? So that's how you can do a little bit more damage. Here, I'm just dropping Frost Bomb and just killing as many mobs as I can, trying to hit next level. And we did it. So now we can get the shield charge and we can just move faster around the zone, right? So now the boss, yeah, I'm making sure it's always attack without moving. Trying to kill mobs because there's just like a lot of mobs. But yeah, I should be just going down to the boss, right? Down and maybe slightly to the left. Okay, we got a painted tower shield. That's the good shield, right? That has the 29 armor base, but we don't have a scroll of wisdom right now, so I cannot ID it. Another thing you can do with a shield is put iron runes in there. Typically, your weapons are going to have more likely a bunch of elemental damage, and iron runes are not that effective for them. If you have, of course, a bunch of physical rolls, then it's great, but iron runes, I would recommend putting them into the shield to increase your armor and get to the next breakpoint. So try to do the math in your head. Would the extra 20% give you enough armor to go past the next breakpoint? And typically that is the case. And then also you can use the elemental damage runes on your weapon, because at early levels especially, these are more impactful. So here I went too far to the left. Yeah, I did definitely misread this zone. while I was playing. It's super clear while I'm looking at it in the retrospect. But I was, while you're leveling, while you're playing, you're also worrying about the gear, about your XP, about the monsters, about the skills, and so many different things that you're trying to do, that it's going to be harder to identify the layouts. But it's still something you want to try to learn to do and just get better at it over time, right? So we actually stunned him. Oh my god, my brain had I queued in my brain that I'm gonna shield charge to him because he was doing the teleport move, but he was actually just got stunned, right? So I should have just kept hitting him. And yeah, this boss is something that I'm doing for the support gem, so we can just skip through it quickly, and then we go to the cemetery. So stomping ground is the important one. Here I usually hit around 15 minutes on warrior, and I'm typically at level 6, right? So you want to try to get to level, if you can get to level 8 before Draven, you're going to have a great time because you're going to do so much damage. If you're level 7, you're going to do a little bit less, right? So here is a huge amount of monsters, so definitely want to make sure I'm dropping the Frost Bomb and Contagion and just killing a bunch of them. So in this zone, you can typically go alongside the wall. I would recommend going along the wall because even if you don't find the entrances right away, you will find the ring. There is a guaranteed either a mana ring or iron ring. And of course, the iron ring, everybody knows, is amazing early on. And I highly recommend also setting up your filter so that it notifies you with a loud sound if you drop an iron ring somewhere. Because we're using Contagion, because we're using Frostbomb, you're gonna have monsters dying behind you off screen. So a loot filter is super important. You can see I got the iron ring here. Loot filter is super important. Oh, and this shield also dropped like with 50 armor, so it's past the 45 breakpoint, right? So now my shield charge is doing good damage. So yeah, we got the Mausoleum of the Praetor. Draven is harder than Asinia, so you want to make sure that you get the waypoint and then you go find Asinia. You do Asinia, you leave the zone, you go to his checkpoint, you do the Draven, you teleport to town, you sell the items, and you use the waypoint back to the cemetery. That is the fastest way through this zone, right? So I'm checking around and it's going to be down there somewhere. But yeah, we got the shield. What else was I talking about? I was talking about something and I completely forgot. But either way, we're going through this zone. We're trying to get higher level. We got the augmentation. You always want to try to look at your gear and make sure. Oh yeah, loot filters. Yes, super important. I'm going to post as of this video, like I'm going to post my loot filter that I use for leveling the warrior on my Patreon as well. I always share my own personal loot filters with my Patreon supporters as kind of like a nice thank you for them. So I'm always maintaining them and making sure they are up to date. So the leveling filter for warrior specifically, which is the newest one that I was working on, I'm going to post it there as well. If you're interested, you can check out the link in the description and you will find them there. They have like custom sounds. They are basically, you know, if you're playing PoE 1 or PoE 2, they're going to be very, very useful to you. So Tomb of the Consort is the thing that we want to do first. If you accidentally find the support gem, right, there is like an alcove where there is a checkpoint and you can kill a rare monster there and the support gem. Very good to do if you find it, but if you don't find it, don't go out of your way throughout the entire zone to try to find it, because then it's not really worth it. But if you find it, it's very nice. Trying to kill everything as quickly as possible using a combination of all of our skills, and then we're gonna get the melee damage, and then the next melee damage node is huge. So we are level 7 right now. If we can hit level 8 before Draven, that would be ideal, because that means we're gonna get huge amount of damage. 20% increased melee damage, which basically is more damage at this point, as well as 40% increased melee damage when the target is stunned, right? Which is going to be the case because shield charge has increased, stun generation, right? It inflicts more stun to the stun meter of the boss. I'm hitting every single dead end here, but that's okay. In this zone and in the other zone, you're going to learn them over time as well. It's pretty helpful to try to understand the layouts a little bit. In here, typically, Asinia is going to be somewhere far away from the entrance, and Draven is going to be in a place that, as you can see, you see this going down, that means there's a boss here, right? Obviously. The Draven is similar to the case, but Draven can actually be like not at the edge, but he can be like kind of in the middle of the zone, but the entrance to his little boss arena is kind of away from the entrance, right? So you need to go like away and then just backwards inside of the arena, if that makes any sense. Like if you were going from here, maybe entrance would be this way and Draven would be here, right? So but entrance would be like from this side instead of from where you enter. So yeah, for Assinia, she's fairly simple, very hard to die on this boss. You want to maximize shield charge damage as a warrior, so you want to shield charge as much as possible. Sometimes you have rage here as well. If you have rage, you put it in your auto attack, so you have martial tempo rage, and then you basically don't use the frost bomb because you want to keep up as much rage as possible so that the shield charge does more damage. But if you don't have that, then it's still good to drop Frostbomb, because freezing the boss is also really helpful. Slowing the boss is really helpful, right? So she's gonna do fewer attacks, she's gonna move around a little bit less, and you're gonna be able to hit all of your shield charges, which is very, very good. So we got another support gem here, and that could be either Rage or Fire Infusion. So I'm grabbing Rage, and it is in the Mace Strike, so I'm gonna put it in the Quarterstaff Strike, and that is gonna help me to do a little bit more damage on Draven. And now we're gonna shield charge into these guys, take the checkpoint, and then go to Draven. So that's how we are navigating through this zone. And I'm gonna skip a little bit, I guess, to get to the actual fight. You can see I'm taking a lot of time. I'm exploring this one. Yeah, I found the Forgotten Riches. This one I completely messed up. So the run could have been like 2 minutes or 3 minutes faster just based on me completely fucking up this zone. So as you can see, still plenty of mistakes that I'm making, right? Trying to ID. There's a bunch of downtime where you're waiting for bosses, where you're waiting for dialogue or something. This is a great time to manage your inventory and take a stock of what you have, right? So you see, we're doing actually quite a lot of damage with the shield charge now because I have a good shield and I am also building up rage, right? So this fight is gonna be very easy because I have good gear here in terms of the, like I got the one extra support gem, right, which I could find from Asinia's friends, like in her zone, right, or I could find from Asinia herself. Very often after she does after he summons Asinia, he's gonna do this attack where he does like these two parallel lines, so be mindful of that. And you want to make sure that you dodge his most damaging shit. And yeah, if you have enough damage, you're going to just inflict a bunch of stuns, so the fight is going to be significantly easier, right? But that's not always the case. Sometimes you have low damage and he is a little bit difficult. So we pick up everything. We got Jade Amulet, which is huge. Another important thing to highlight in your filters, make it have a loud sound if you drop an amulet that gives you strength, dex, or int. They are super valuable early on while leveling. They help you fix your attributes, and they're just like very, very good to have. Another tip I can give you, if you're doing a league start, if you're trying to do a speed run and maximize your time, don't worry about it. But if you're doing a league start, make sure to drop all quality weapons, quality armors, and socketed armors in your inventory until you unlock the bench. And then when you get the bench, you salvage them all and you get a bunch of good stuff, right? So I would highly, highly recommend doing that. I'm checking my weapon, like which one is better. I think the lightning damage might have been even better as well. And then I'm gonna give you the Regex as well. The Regex is very simple. I'm searching for movement speed, strength, dex, and int gear, and the level of melee skills, as well as spell damage, because I was also considering looking at the other vendor to get like spell damage wand for early spells or something like that. But unfortunately, if you're using a wand, there is, I think it's a bug. I'm pretty sure it's a bug. Shield charge works with wands. It's completely fine, but the stomping ground support does not work with wands. So I'm convinced this is a bug. If they fix that, I would actually go and try to get some wands to get more single target damage early on until you get a one-handed weapon with +1 to melee skills, and you are using shield charge and the totem, right? The shockwave totem. Yeah. If you're using those together, then +2 the levels will be better. Otherwise, actually, a wand would be great with spell damage, but because the stomping ground doesn't work and it's a huge amount of our damage, that's why I'm not using it, right? So we find movement speed boots here. We find dexterity on the helmet. That is amazing. We also get some flasks that we cannot equip now. And then we take waypoint and go straight to the Cemetery of Eternals. Notice how I never talked to this NPC. I'm still not going to talk to him. You never talk to him. Never talk to this guy. It's a complete waste of time. I mean, unless it's, your first time running the campaign and you want the RP, but this is not a video for people who want to just casually do the campaign. This is a video for people who want to maximize their speed in the campaign. So never talk to this guy and straight up enter the cemetery where you have the key, and he's just gonna follow you and do his thing. Then I'm gonna move some skills around. There's a downtime so you can organize stuff, and the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm gonna be adding other skills, and I wanna add supports to them, so I don't wanna have to scroll through and see them, right? So this is a great time to also augment your gear if you have a bunch of stuff that can be augmented. And the first attack he does is always a slam, and whichever direction he slams, he's gonna slam the opposite, right? So I'm gonna move out of the second slam because he slams forwards and then backwards, right? Whichever way he does it. So we get a lot of damage. So this fight is gonna be very easy. You can see the shield charge with the stomping ground, with also my rage built up, is a very large amount of damage, right? So this is the amount of damage you can have if you're doing like maces in general, but also with staff you can take advantage of that. The weapon swap is actually relatively quick, so I'm having a great time with this setup, right? And shield charge, of course, is something that no matter what class you're playing, it's gonna benefit you just for the mobility. And then another tip I can give you for shield charge is you're gonna notice that every single time I shield charge, at the end of it, your character has like a little wind down animation, but you can see like as I shield charge, I'm gonna also dodge roll, right? So you're gonna see I dodge roll at the end of a shield charge to cancel that little animation at the end that makes your character slower. At this point, the next skill gem, level 3, that I'm gonna have, ideally, there's two things that I want, that I really want right now. I want the bell, right? That's one thing that I really want, because I could already use the bell, and the bell is insane, you're gonna see. And then also I want the war cry, infernal cry, because that will increase the damage of either the bell or the shield charge, right? So that's gonna do a huge amount of damage, and those two things are what I want. But I don't have it yet, so I still have to rely on my auto attack and the shield charge, which is still completely fine for this boss. But with a bell, I would do even more damage, right? But yeah, we can just follow here with the shield charge, go a little bit ahead of him, so we never have to catch up to him. He actually has to catch up to us because we are faster with the shield charge, and that just shows how much of a difference shield charge makes in your mobility, right? And why it is such a mandatory skill to use. Even when I'm going the staff setup, right? It is a huge amount of speed that we're getting. Able to stun him a lot, so he opens the door. He's gonna pick up the bell, and you can still do a little bit of damage. I like that you can still do a little bit of damage. You can maintain rage, you can maintain combo for your bell as well, so it is possible to position properly, and then as he's coming to you, stack the combo for the bell, and then as soon as he becomes targetable here, you can drop the bell and just one-shot him, right? So that is something you can definitely try to do and try to min-max in terms of this fight. I stun him out of his big slam, and then we're just gonna finish him off, and that's it. So 2 skill points, a bunch of gear, sometimes he drops a gem as well, and then we're going through dexterity and as well as int, I think, right? Because I want both of them, I want them to be roughly equal, and I think I will need 20 dex and 20 int by the end of this act. Other thing for this zone, the tip I can give you is to go along the edge. Along the edge you will find the boss, you will find the Ogam village, you will find the entrance to the Freythorn, and you will find also a support skill gem encounter, right? An encounter that's going to give you a support skill gem that is very helpful to do. So here we're just killing stuff. Yeah, these poison spitters are very, very dangerous. You can see I one-shot them with the shield charge because we got a good shield now. This is going to be Freythorn entrance, and they are typically also at corners, right? So they are positioned at corners, but sometimes they can be next to each other. So next to Freythorn, you can have the support gem on like the different wall, but the same corner, right? So here I take the waypoint. What I like to do is either go sell items if I have a lot of them. This is a time where we can also talk to Una and, make sure that the guy goes up, right? Gets up, so I can ID stuff. But here I'm just gonna sell everything in the interest of saving time. Quickly check if there's any good gear to buy, and then just continue. If you want to wait, you can wait for the hooded guy to get up and then identify everything and make sure that if you don't have ID scrolls, you're going to have to wait either way to either buy them. But yeah, from the waypoint, now I go the opposite way, right? Because I could take a checkpoint and go somewhere else to a checkpoint, but going the opposite way also works. For some reason, I'm taking damage while allocating passives. I didn't even know that's possible. I don't know why that happened here, but that's cool. And we're going the opposite way. if you really want a skill gem, you could also do the ritual here. It doesn't take that long, but of course it does take time, and the skill gem is not something that you absolutely need, right? Like you are gonna get enough skill gems, so you don't need to do it. But if you want more skill gems quicker, then you can definitely do that, and it's a small detour. You can consider like killing fewer monsters. Like if you skip a couple packs, if you skip like 2 or 3 packs, right? Instead of doing what I'm doing right now, I could go get the skill gem, right? For example, that's definitely a viable approach. You're still gonna spend a little bit of time on it, but it's definitely something you can do, and it's gonna make your character feel stronger, and some people really value that, right? Because you can optimize for speed. If you're optimizing for speed, your character is gonna feel weaker, right? It's kind of a paradox, right? Because you feel weaker, but you are somehow faster. But that's kind of how it works in this game. So yeah, we got Infernal Cry here. I don't have the bell yet, and we got also added fire, which we put into our shield charge. And the reason why we were doing added fire instead of anything else is because if we do brutality, then we cannot benefit from our war cry, Infernal Cry, which adds actually fire damage, right? Like damage added as extra fire damage. So we need to actually fire infusion in order to benefit from that and get some extra damage. In this zone, we're gonna get the loot. You can also get another skill gem, and that's basically it, right? And then you look for the exit. The exit can be actually in some tricky positions sometimes, and if you are rushing into the zone, let's say you're like level 9, I'm probably like around level 10, but these guys with the crossbows, they actually do a ridiculous amount of damage. If they are magic, they can one-shot you, right? Like 2 bolts from that. So if you have like a pack, you have like 3 crossbow guys and they're magic, and 2 of them hit you, they will probably one-shot you, right? So you need to be really careful for them. They don't spawn always, but all the time you can find them, and they will actually just completely one-tap you, and there is not much you can do about it other than trying to dodge and look for whenever they're doing the snipe, and then dodge roll in order to avoid that damage. Yeah, so a lot of the time you want to simply just collect a bunch of monsters, use your war cry, and then use your shield charge, right? So we collect them and then war cry, shield charge, and then we're gonna just kill them all. I think here I didn't use a shield. Oh yeah, I did get one shot. I did, well, not one shot, there's a lot of monsters hitting me, but I did get killed by them. So you can see they do a huge amount of damage, right? And it was the crossbow guys that absolutely obliterated me. Okay, we can skip a little bit through this zone because there is not much happening here, but this is where you also can start finding like gothic stuff, right? So you can get your weapon upgrade. We're gonna go do this boss as well. This one is gonna give you, I think, level 4 skill gem, uncut skill gem. But this one also has the annoying purple volatiles, and I had like no flask charges, so it was a little bit dangerous. And then with this one, we're gonna make the bell, I'm pretty sure, and I'm gonna just try to find the exit, which I get a little bit lost for. Right, so here I wasted a lot of time. So I wasted a lot of time in this zone. I wasted a lot of time in the Draven zone. So that could be like 5 minutes right there, right? If I didn't waste time in those. So yeah, we got level 4 skill gem, quarterstaff, tempest bell. Yep. Somehow the sound of the somehow I had no sound, but I can hear the tempest bell sound. Is it playing to a different audio device? That is interesting. Anyway, so we're going through this zone, and there is 2 ways to go through it. I tried to go up to the like basically north, and there can be the tools there. And if you don't find them, you go to the left, you take the checkpoint, you go back to the initial checkpoint, and then you go down and find the tools here. But I found that there's actually a lot of dead ends to the north, and it's not even faster on average, right? On average, actually, it feels like I'm spending so much time there that I actually prefer going a little bit down. And in this case, in this case, I see, okay, it's not, the tools are not going to be here. So I am deciding to take a portal back to town, sell my items because I have a bunch of stuff to sell, do some trading, get a better weapon. So I did get a better weapon that is has a physical roll on it. And then looking for boots and other stuff. And then I'm going to take the waypoint back to the Ogam village and then go the standard way, right? And the reason also why I based was because I get 2 skill points, which means I can do more damage for the boss fight, right? Because I didn't return the loot. So it's nice to return the loot before doing this boss in order to do a little bit more damage. One thing you can do here, particularly easy if you have a hollow palm, but even with just auto attacks, you can drag a mob with you and then make sure that you're stacking your combo for the bell on the mobs that come with you, and then you can have the bell for whenever the boss spawns, right? It's a little bit difficult to do with auto attacks because your auto attacks will one-shot most of the monsters, so you need to have like 4 of them with you, and that's very hard to accomplish, to drag them, and it's gonna also slow you a little bit, so it's not that important. But I'm gonna show you the combo, okay? So the combo that you do normally with this setup on bosses is you do 4 auto attacks. Later on it's gonna be ice strikes, 4 auto attacks, then you do the war cry, infernal cry, then you drop the bell, and then you shield charge into it. And look at the damage, right? Look at the damage. Just immediately insane amount of damage. Like what? Like he didn't get to do anything yet, and he's like 30% life, right? So that is huge. We get another, he drops the anvil on my head, right? So we make sure to dodge out of that. We drop the bell and we shield charge into that, hit it a couple times, he's dead. So my weapon is not even that good. My weapon is like has a physical roll on it, and that's it. So this is how much damage you can do if you have, you know, weapon on your level and you have all of this setup, right? Huge amount of damage, way easier fights than with anything else, and it does save you time, right? It does save you time. Like it is definitely something you cannot discount. Like the boss fights take time, and if you can cut that time by having just simply better setup with more single target damage, that is going to speed you up. So here, after this boss, we can go home because the next waypoint is going to be already unlocked in the ramparts. So we can simply ID stuff. We can take level 5 gem, which is going to be Ice Strike, and that requires level 14. So I know that I want to hit level 14 before I hit the last boss. That's basically my measure for how much XP I want in Act 1. I want to hit level 14 before the last boss. If I hit it on the last monster before the last boss, I'm happy, right? Okay, I regaled the weapon because I know we're keeping this weapon until the boss. And here in this zone, the reason why we skipped it earlier and we're going here a little bit later is number one, it's very difficult. And we also kind of want to skip as much of it as we can, right? So if I have huge amount of mobs, I'm going to work right and shield charge. Other than that, I'm just going to move forward, right? I'm just going to try to run and find the rituals. And on the rituals, I'm also going to kill as few monsters as possible until the ritual unlocks, right? So let me find the next one and show you what I mean. Okay, so we have the next ritual right here. As soon as the ritual altar is available to click, I want to click it, right? So I'm not killing anything else. I'm clicking it as soon as I can because I want to kill as few monsters as possible here because I want to get out of here really quickly. These monsters are extremely annoying. They do lots of chaos damage. It's a very rippy zone. The monsters are very tanky. The regular white mobs have actually a teleport ability where they just simply like teleport away from you. Okay, we got an iron rune, but I already have an iron rune that I placed in my shield, I'm pretty sure. So I don't need to pick it up. And yeah, these monsters like spawn super far away from each other. So it's a very, very tedious, annoying long zone. And it can basically make a huge difference in your run, right? So that's why we want to make sure that we're doing it as quickly as possible. I'm slapping and transmute on the staff in case we get like a good roll on it or something. But yeah, after you can also make sure that you take advantage of the checkpoints, right? So if you see checkpoints, definitely take advantage of checkpoints and move around the zone through the checkpoints if possible, right? For the boss, again, huge pain in the ass. This boss, if you are lower level and if you don't have like decent gear, is an absolute nightmare. That's why we're skipping it for a little bit later, like we're doing now, because he teleports non-stop. What happens is you drop a bell and he teleports away, right? And then you're completely screwed. So again, we want to do the combo where we do Warcry, Bell, and Shield Charge. And that is going to take care of him very, very well. You're going to see how much damage we do. This is absolutely insane amount of damage for this level. And otherwise, if you don't have that damage, it is a nightmare. He drops a debuff on you where you cannot move, but then at the same time, he spawns a physical dot under you and you cannot move, but you're also taking physical damage that kills you while he's doing a slam. And then when you try to hit him, he teleports away, right? It is absolute nightmare. Then you get to him, he does a slam, right? So it's an absolute nightmare of a fight. So one of the best ways to overcome that is to have this amount of damage, right? So he's doing a slam, but I'm doing a bigger slam. Look at this. That's one bell plus shield charge, right? 1/3 of his life. He teleports away right after that, but then now he's stunned. So we're going to be able to repeat this combo again. So we can do this, drop a bell, and shield charge, and he's phased, right? So 2 combos, he's phased. That's how you want to do this fight. You want to do a lot of damage. You want to skip the fucking bullshit that he does, because it's an absolute just a pain to deal with. So we're waiting. I'm just spamming my auto attack. When he spawns, Warcry, Bell, shield charge, hit the bell a few times, and because he's stunned, he cannot even get out of it. 1 combo this face down, right? You want to make sure to click on Ritual as well. Sometimes there is good stuff here, so you want to check out whatever is relevant for your character. +1 to melee is nice, but we have physical damage. It's a little bit similar. And from here, there is also another good shield if we had, and you can go for Herald of Ash or you can go for Herald of Ice. I'm trying out Herald of Ice and seeing how it works in this run. Normally you would go probably with this setup for Herald of Ice and then Herald of Thunder, and then try to get the chaining explosions and get like a bunch of added cold and lightning damage. That would be my approach for leveling with this character further if I could do that. But I was just trying to mostly optimized for Act 1 here, with also Act 2 in mind, because I tried a different setup and I also did like 1 hour run with a different setup that was scaling strength, shield charge, and corrupting cry. Unfortunately though, the damage in Act 2 fell off so hard that I went right back to the staff and tried to make it work, because the other setup was really bad damage in Act 2 in terms of like single target damage. I think I get one shot here by one of these rare monsters, because he probably is like gonna slam me or something. Yeah, I get completely one shot here. But yeah, we go through this zone. There is not much to do. We only like kill the big packs. You can get huge amount of XP here, right? So if you need XP, catch up in this zone, no problem, right? You're gonna have a huge amount of monsters, and then you basically, what you do is you go around to the left and up, and that always will put you to the gallows. You get the support gem, and then I get either magnified effect for the bell, or I get a lacerate for the totem. I don't even have a totem here, I think, and I got the lacerate, but it doesn't fucking matter. And then at level 14 we're gonna get the ice strike, right? So I do have a gem, so I make the totem because I found an extra level 4 gem, and the totem with lacerate is nice. It helps take a little bit of aggro from you, do extra AoE damage. The bleed is pretty powerful, so yeah, that's very nice. Now we go to Ogham Manor. In this zone, what I do, I always go to the bottom right. I always go east, because sometimes the side boss spawns actually before the bridge, right? So if the side boss spawns before the bridge, you're gonna be able to do it and see it on the way, instead of having to go back and like backtrack and get back to the side boss, right? Because most of the time he is after the bridge, but sometimes he is before the bridge in this zone. So I would definitely check the bottom right first. And this zone is also completely insanely rippy. If you're playing the strength, shield, corrupting cry setup, it's actually much easier. But if you're playing the staff setup, you're going to be typically a little bit more squishy, because while you have your staff equipped, you don't have the block, right? So that's going to make you a little bit more squishy. My setup is like all right. I would say it's a, yeah, I guess average, but like the good average gear, right? So if I would have to say like out of 10, how good is my gear? I would say like 6 or 7, right? Maybe like 6.5, I would say, in terms of my gear, right? Yeah, 6 or 7, something like that. So this is definitely not like a very lucky run, but it's also not an unlucky run. And that's something that you can expect in most of your runs in terms of like the damage and speed, I think, on Warrior with this setup. But yeah, we're trying to get out of this. We're trying to get a little bit of XP and figure out where to actually go here. But yeah, I know I need to go back, because the side boss is not going to be here. It's going to be to the northeast, actually. Open the chest, but again, very hard to... I'm just trying to move through and kill as few mobs as possible, believe it or not, but it is very difficult when they are this oppressive, and the physical dot on the ground that they're spawning is also extremely disgusting. So ranged characters, again, have a big advantage here, or of course, if you have your shield equipped, then you're gonna have a good time as well, like most of the time. Yeah, for this boss, we still don't have Ice Strike. Sometimes I have level 14 here and I have Ice Strike, sometimes I don't. But even if you don't have Ice Strike, you can just do auto attacks and you're gonna be completely fine. So we managed to actually stun him very early and then do this combo. Yeah, huge amount of damage. Huge amount of damage. So you can see I'm gonna keep it on the fight, and then I'm gonna skip to the next zone. Yeah, this is one attack that you definitely want to dodge, where he does this like rain of fire. Definitely want to make sure that you don't stand in one spot, because that's gonna completely destroy you. So we're level 14. And we're gonna now equip our Ice Strike, and with Ice Strike we can do more damage in terms of single target, and also freeze at the same time, because we're gonna have the cold damage coming from our Ice Strike, fire damage coming from the Infernal Cry, and then sometimes like you have lightning damage on a weapon or on other piece of gear. You can actually apply all ailments to the bell and do huge amount of damage, because the bell does more damage if you apply more ailments to it, right? So this combo works very, very well. The Warcry really helps you get the it helps you really get the fire damage that is needed for the ignites as well. So I'm gonna skip a little bit. In this zone, you basically go along the top edge. You always wanna go up, and then when you cross the bridge, you go down. And then here, you wanna go up, right? So somewhere to the top is gonna be the exit. And now I'm gonna show you the boss fight. So compare like whatever you've seen in terms of a warrior damage, compare this to like different fresh warrior runs with different setups, and you'll see how insane this is, right? In the first phase, even in the second phase, the boss can jump a lot. A lot of the time you're able to actually skip the poem phase, the fog phase, right? And you know, sometimes he's gonna jump out of the bell, and then you're gonna have a hard time, but you can see very consistent, good amount of burst. And we are actually going to have to wait for the RP. We're doing so much damage that the conversation between him and the Countess doesn't finish. She doesn't release the boss, and you just need to like he is like, they're already talking like, hey, release the beast, you know, whatever. But the guy is still attacking, right? And soon we're gonna get to the point where, yeah, we cannot damage him anymore, because he's like fully phased. So I'm just running around and trying to dodge his attacks, because he is going to transform soon, but I have to wait for that, right? So yeah, we place the totem, then I strike a few times, and yeah, we try to make sure that the bell doesn't break. Sometimes the bell like drops on the wrong side, right? So that is something that you need to be careful for. But yeah, we're doing huge amount of damage here, huge amount of burst. But now he's gonna cue the next attack, which is gonna be the fog stuff. If he didn't, then I would just simply bell him now and one-shot him, and we would skip this phase completely. I got a little bit unlucky, so I have to go through this phase, so it's a little bit longer. But with this setup, if you have a decent weapon, you can skip this phase, which is very, very nice. And then after the boss dies, you can either wait here for like a minute, you know, you go to the bathroom, take a break on the league start, right, and come back and pick up your loot, or you skip the loot, go to town right away and progress to Act 2, right, which in a speedrun you would do that. You would not wait for the loot here. But yeah, so he's gonna spawn now. We Warcry, we drop the bell, we shield charge, and he's stunned. We just hit him a few times, he's dead. It's insanely ridiculous damage. So that's it. Playtime 58 minutes here. So this is well under an hour. I'm very happy with this. I'm gonna now progress to different classes. Maybe I'm gonna try to do Monk, which I think is the slowest class. So it's gonna be the biggest challenge. And after Monk, every other class should be like very, very easy. But hopefully you learned a lot from this video in terms of the speedrunning. If you have any questions, if you have any doubts about like what resources to look for, or any things that are unclear from this video, you can post them in the comments below. And also make sure to check out my stream. I stream both on YouTube and on Twitch, so you can check out whichever stream you like. And I'm gonna be speedrunning the next class, trying to get better at leveling, and then trying to make more specific, like class specific builds and leveling builds, leveling guides for different characters, because I think from the content that I've done, this has been some of the most popular content. So I'm gonna try to provide that. I think I do a decent job at teaching people how to level and doing leveling builds. So I'm going to try to focus on that a little bit more. Of course, I'm going to do different other related content to PoE 2, and I'm going to focus mostly on PoE 2. So even though there's going to be like a PoE 1 event going on, I'm going to focus on PoE 2, and I'm going to try to get every single character through Act 1 under an hour. They get really good at the early game, and I think that's going to translate very nicely to like league starts and things like that, and this is the best time to do it. So if you're looking to get into speedrunning, it is a great time to do it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.